Here's a Beyond the Pitch podcast quick hit from the WVSA Digital Network.
Yeah, I mean, we cannot underestimate how important it is to listen. And again, part of it goes back to the relationships and the trust and the self-esteem and the motivation and everything else that I kind of talked about at the beginning. But we have got to be more conscious about how much talking we do versus how much listening we do. And if you've got your athletes in front of you in a one-on-one situation and you walk away from that interaction thinking, I spoke more than 30% there, then you talk too much. You really have got to give your athletes the chance, or your parents the chance, to really be more of a highlight in that communication kind of piece. I think another thing, and I see this especially in younger coaches, is there's an over-reliance on expertise and not enough of a reliance on building relationships. And what I mean by that is it's almost like, oh, well, I'm the coach, and because I have this position and this title, then that means that I have this level of power, which should be demonstrated in this way. And then they neglect things like getting to know their athletes, understanding what it is that their athletes can handle or what it is that would motivate them, building up that trust bank that they can make withdrawals on later. All of those things end up getting pushed to the wayside because there's such an over-reliance on, well, you should do this because I said so, because of my level of expertise, because I played in college or semi-pro, or when I was in high school and we won a state championship, whatever it is. Expertise does not give you as much power as you think it does. Yes, it got you the job, but that's about it. I think another mistake that I see that's kind of related to that is just timing. In the heat of the moment, when your goalkeeper has just missed they were totally out of position and just missed a huge opportunity for your team, is not the time to berate them about this is why you have to come to practice and you actually have to work hard. And it sounds absurd, but the number of times that I have seen that is really sad, because then you lose the point, you lose your credibility, you lose your trust and relationship, you damage the athlete's self-esteem, and then you wonder why it is that there tends to be a rapid decline in athletic performance. They pull away from you, and now all of a sudden they're failing in school. Now, granted, it doesn't happen that quickly or that smoothly, but it does start with mistakes in timing. And so I think that that's really one of those mistakes that coaches could much more easily avoid. And one of the pieces of advice I give to coaches about that is, why do you need to give that piece of feedback in this moment right now? Is your athlete really going to benefit from it? And so you need to say it exactly right now. Or are you emotionally frustrated? And this is your way of getting rid of that frustration. And if you're engaging in that piece of communication at that time for yourself and not your athlete, then you don't need to engage. You're the adult. You deal with your own emotions. Come back and put your athlete first. And that goes for kind of knowing your audience as well. You know, is this the kind of athlete who can take whatever kind of piece of feedback it is that you're giving them? And I don't know if you've noticed, but as we talk about communication, I never talk about constructive criticism or praise, because for me, any communication is just feedback. Some of it feels better than others. But as a coach, I think too often we get caught up in this, oh, well, you're my athlete, so I need to tell you exactly what it is that I see, and you need to take it well because it's just constructive criticism. Well, no, criticism is never really all that constructive. Now, feedback, that's a different story, and we can have a much different conversation in that sense. So knowing your audience is kind of important there. Another mistake that I see a lot is just unrealistic expectations. Again, athletes are not miniature adults. They're kids. And oftentimes we expect them to be able to do things, think about things, respond to things in certain ways that from a psychological and cognitive development perspective, they are incapable of doing. It's not that they don't want to. It's that they don't have the structures and systems in place to be able to do that the way that you want them to. So really checking your expectations at the door is incredibly important. And then I'd say the last major mistake that I can think of right now is ignoring nonverbals. Again, over 60% of all communication comes through your tone and your body language and the words that you choose and all of these things that are not what it is that's actually coming out of your mouth. And so being inattentive to those nonverbals, both yours and your athletes, really is damaging to effective communication, which is then damaging to athletic performance and personal growth.